It was supposed to be a quiet afternoon, the kind of day when sunlight paints the streets golden, and even the city itself seems to breathe a little slower. But inside Casa d'Oro, the most elegant restaurant in Milan, calm was just an illusion, a thin veil hiding something dark. Waiters moved like dancers, trays balanced perfectly, smiles practiced, voices polite. Outside, the bells of the nearby church rang faintly in the distance. Everything looked ordinary, peaceful. But at one corner table, by the tall window glowing with afternoon light, sat a tiny girl, no older than 8. Her name was Alina. She had big, curious eyes, and her dark hair was tied back with a faded red ribbon. Beside her, her mother cleared tables quietly, her movements tired but graceful. They had come to Italy just a few months ago, escaping a life they rarely spoke about. To the restaurant staff, they were just another struggling family, quiet, polite, invisible. But Alina was different. She noticed things others didn't. She listened when no one else did. That afternoon, she sat coloring on a napkin, humming softly, when the air suddenly shifted. The restaurant doors opened, and silence fell like a shadow. Every waiter froze. Every conversation stopped mid-sentence. Even the piano player hesitated, his fingers hovering over the keys. Because the man who had just walked in wasn't just anyone. He was Victor D'Angelo, the most feared mafia boss in Italy. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, Victor walked as if he owned the air itself. Two bodyguards followed behind him, cold, alert, their eyes scanning every corner. He didn't need to speak. His presence spoke for him. Alina's mother whispered under her breath, barely moving her lips. "Don't stare, Alina. Just don't." But Alina couldn't help it. She watched as Victor took his seat at the center table, sunlight catching the gold of his watch, the edge of his cufflinks. His expression was calm, unreadable, yet there was something in his eyes, a kind of quiet loneliness that even power couldn't hide. To most people, Victor D'Angelo was a monster. To others, a legend. But to Alina, he was just another man trying not to look sad. The waiters rushed to serve him, plates gleaming, glasses filled, smiles trembling. Alina's mother carried a tray toward the next table, passing close to Victor's seat. Alina followed her with her eyes, and that's when she heard it. From behind the swinging kitchen doors came a voice, then another, low, quick, foreign. She tilted her head. Her heart skipped. It was Russian. She knew that language. It was the sound of her childhood. But what she heard next made her blood run cold. "Oh, Yaudi," one voice said. "He won't finish the meal." Then a pause. A quieter voice followed, darker, sharper. "Amue. EO. We've waited too long. Today, it ends." Alina froze. Her crayon fell to the floor. The words echoed in her head, mixing with the sound of the clattering dishes and faint laughter from the dining room. Her eyes darted toward the kitchen door, and for a brief second, one of the men inside turned his head. He saw her. Their eyes met, cold, expressionless. A faint smile curved his lips, a warning. Alina's breath hitched. She quickly looked down, pretending to color again, her tiny hand trembling so hard the crayon line broke. Fear crawled through her chest like ice. She looked for her mother, but her mother was busy near another table. Nobody else had heard. Nobody else would understand. How could she explain it? A child interrupting grown men about something she only thought she heard? They'd laugh. Or worse, they'd be angry. Still, she couldn't ignore it. Her eyes flicked toward Victor D'Angelo. He sat calmly, looking out the window, unaware that death was already walking closer to him. The kitchen doors swung open. A waiter stepped out, young, nervous, holding a silver tray. On it, a plate of lasagna. Steam rose from the layers, carrying the scent of fresh basil and garlic through the air. Alina's stomach twisted. Her tiny fingers gripped the edge of the table. Her mind screamed, "That's it. That's the meal." She jumped up, nearly knocking over her chair, and ran to her mother. "Mama," she whispered quickly, breathless. "Mama, don't let him eat it." The man, the one in black, They said something in Russian. They said the food. Her mother frowned, trying to calm her. Alina, hush. What are you talking about? They said he won't finish his food. They said, today it ends. In Russian, Mama. You have to stop him. Her mother sighed, eyes tired. You probably misunderstood. Not everyone who speaks Russian is bad. Alina, please, go sit. Don't make trouble. Mama, please. Alina's voice cracked. I'm not lying. But her mother turned away to serve another table. Alina stood there, small and trembling, in a room full of people pretending everything was fine. The laughter, the sunlight, the soft music. It all felt wrong now, like a play about to turn into a tragedy. She turned back toward Victor's table. The waiter was there, carefully setting the lasagna before him. The sauce shimmered under the sunlight, the steam curling like ghosts above it. Victor thanked the waiter with a nod, then picked up his silver fork. Alina's breath caught in her throat. Her mind screamed louder. Say something. Do something. Her legs moved before her thoughts could catch up. She ran right across the dining floor. Chairs scraped. People turned. Her small voice cut through the quiet restaurant, trembling but fierce. Don't eat that. Please, don't eat it. The sound hung in the air like a gunshot. Every head turned. The piano stopped. Victor froze mid-movement, the fork hovering just inches from his lips. The guards moved instantly, two shadows lunging toward her. Her mother screamed. Dishes clattered to the ground. Victor's eyes lifted, locking onto hers. This tiny girl, standing there barefoot, shaking, tears glistening on her cheeks. And for a second, he saw something in her face. Fear, yes, but also truth. He didn't move, didn't speak. Only his gaze shifted from the trembling girl to the steaming plate. Then, to the waiter standing behind her. The waiter's face was pale. Beads of sweat ran down his temple. His hands fidgeted. Something in his eyes panic. Victor's tone was soft, deadly calm. Who made this? The waiter hesitated. The kitchen, sir. Victor leaned back slightly, his stare never leaving the man. Which part? The Russian chef. He just stepped out. The air turned heavy. Even the sunlight through the window seemed to dim. Alina stood frozen, her heart pounding so hard it hurt. Her mother reached for her, but Victor raised his hand, stopping the guards, stopping everyone. Wait, he said softly. Let the girl speak. Alina's lips trembled. Her small voice barely made a sound. I heard them in the kitchen. Two men. They said in Russian, you wouldn't finish your food. Victor's jaw tightened. He looked at her for a long moment, deep, searching, then at the lasagna again. The fork, still gleaming in his hand, lowered slowly to the table. A tense silence filled the room, the kind that feels like a breath before something explodes. Outside, a bird flew past the window. Inside, nobody moved. Victor's voice, quiet but sharp as glass. Bring me my taster. One of the guards stepped forward, took the fork, and lifted a small bite. He hesitated, then ate it. Seconds passed. One heartbeat. Two. Then the guard's expression changed. Confusion, then pain. His knees buckled. The fork clattered to the floor. He gasped once and collapsed. The restaurant erupted in screams. Chairs overturned. People ran. Alina covered her ears, trembling. Victor stood, calm, furious, deadly. His gaze cut through the chaos and landed on the little girl again. You saved my life, he said quietly. But before Alina could even breathe, before her mother could pull her close, Victor's phone buzzed on the table. He picked it up, looked at the screen. One message. Simple. Hold. She shouldn't have spoken. Victor's eyes lifted. Through the restaurant window, sunlight glinted off something metallic on the rooftop across the street. A reflection. A scope. And just as he realized what it was, they say silence is louder than screams. And after that little girl's cry, don't eat that, silence swallowed the restaurant whole. The silver fork lay on the floor beside the fallen guard. A thin wisp of smoke rose from the plate. And in that single frozen second, every eye turned toward Victor D'Angelo. the king of Milan's underworld, and the trembling little girl who had dared to stop him. The sunlight through the window flickered against Victor's face. His expression was unreadable, calm on the surface, but his jaw clenched, eyes burning with quiet fury. He slowly rose from his chair. The room seemed to shrink around him. Guards moved forward immediately, gripping Alina by the shoulders. She whimpered, trying to pull away. "Let me go. I was just trying to help," her mother screamed, rushing forward. "Please, she's only a child. She didn't mean." But Victor lifted his hand slightly. The guards froze. He studied Alina, his voice low, deliberate, every word heavy as stone. "You told me not to eat it." Alina's lips trembled. "Why, yes." "Why?" Her eyes darted toward the kitchen. "I heard them. Two men. They spoke in Russian. They said you wouldn't finish your meal." Victor's stare sharpened. "You speak Russian?" "A little. My papa, he taught me." A pause. Long. Tense. The whole restaurant was watching, no one daring to move or breathe. Victor's eyes softened for just a moment, as if something about her voice pulled at an old memory. But just as quickly, the steel returned. He gestured to his guards. "Check the kitchen." They moved fast, boots thudding, doors slamming open. Alina's mother gripped her daughter tightly, tears in her eyes. "You've done enough, Alina. Stay quiet now." But Alina shook her head, whispering, "Mama, I just wanted to help." Victor turned away, speaking into his phone. His voice was quiet, too quiet. "Lock down the street. Nobody leaves. Find them." Then, silence again. Seconds ticked by. The guards returned, empty-handed, faces pale. "Boss," one said carefully. The kitchen door was open. The two Russian men gone. Victor didn't react. He simply nodded once, his fingers tightening around his phone. He turned back toward Alina, his tone even quieter now. "You're telling the truth, aren't you?" She nodded quickly, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I didn't mean to shout, but they said it. I swear, they said it." Her voice cracked, small and scared. Victor stared at her for a long moment, then looked down at the dead guard on the floor. The weight of it hit everyone in the room. One simple meal, one small voice, one life already lost, and for the first time in years. Victor D'Angelo, the man who ruled through fear, didn't know what to do. He walked slowly toward Alina, the sound of his shoes echoing against the marble. Every waiter, every guest stepped back. Even her mother held her breath. When he stopped in front of her, Alina had to tilt her head up to see his face. He looked impossibly tall, and yet, his eyes didn't hold the coldness she expected. He crouched down, his voice softer now. "You have a brave heart, little one. That's not common in my world." Alina blinked up at him, confused. Are you angry at me?" Victor paused. A shadow of a smile touched his lips, tired, hollow. "I'm alive because of you. Why would I be angry?" Alina didn't answer. Her small hands gripped the hem of her dress, knuckles white. Suddenly, one of Victor's phones buzzed on the table. He stood, answered, his tone clipped, controlled. "Speak." A pause. Then his expression changed. Colder, sharper. "What do you mean the Russians moved early?" Another pause. Then, "Who gave the order?" Whatever the voice on the other side said made Victor's jaw tighten. "No, leave him. I'll handle it myself." He ended the call. His men exchanged uneasy looks. Victor's gaze turned distant for a second, thinking, calculating. Then he looked back at Alina. "You heard their voices. Can you remember anything else?" "One man had a scar here," she said, touching her cheek. "He said something about the boss will know by sunset." Victor's eyes narrowed. "The boss!" He muttered the words like they were poison. He turned to one of his men. "Get me names of every Russian working in my businesses. Every chef, driver, cleaner. Now." The man nodded and rushed out. Alina clutched her mother's hand. Her mother whispered, voice trembling, "Please, sir. May we go now? She didn't mean any harm. We just want to leave." Victor didn't answer right away. He looked at the shattered glass on the floor, the lifeless guard, the half-eaten lasagna cooling on the table. "You can't leave," he said quietly. "Not yet." The words hit like a hammer. What do you mean?" the mother stammered. "Someone wanted me dead, and that someone may have seen your daughter hear them. If they know she spoke." He didn't finish. He didn't need to. The woman gasped, covering her mouth. "The police are coming," a guard said urgently. "What do we tell them?" Victor looked at the door, then at Alina. "Nothing. They'll ask questions I won't answer. Take the guard's body out through the back. Clean everything. Now." The men obeyed. The restaurant became a scene of silent motion, tables being cleared, glass swept, blood wiped away with linen. And through it all, Alina stood quietly beside her mother, eyes wide, heart pounding. She didn't understand power or politics or blood feuds. All she knew was that she had tried to save a man's life. And now everything felt worse. Victor walked back to her, voice calm again. "You said your name was Alina?" "Yes, sir." "Do you know who those men were?" She shook her head. He sighed, rubbing a hand over his face. "Then you stepped into something you shouldn't have." Suddenly, one of the guards ran in, holding a phone. "Boss, you need to see this." He handed it over. A text message glowed on the screen. "She shouldn't have spoken. Neither should you." Victor's face went still. The guard whispered, "Boss, that came from an encrypted number. Unknown source." Victor turned slowly toward the window. Sunlight still streamed in, soft, golden, peaceful. But now, he saw it differently. The way the glass shimmered. The way the rooftops opposite glinted in the distance. A reflection. A flash. Victor's instinct screamed. He lunged, grabbing Alina and her mother, pulling them to the ground just as the bullet tore through the window, smashing the wine bottles behind him. Chaos erupted again. "Sniper!" someone yelled. Victor rolled over, shouting orders. "Down! Everyone down! Find the shooter!" Guards pulled out weapons, firing toward the rooftops. Screams filled the street. Alina's mother shielded her daughter, crying, "Please, stop. She's just a child." Victor crouched beside them, calm in the middle of the madness. His hand was steady, his voice cold. "Stay low. Don't move until I say." Another shot cracked the air, splintering wood inches from his shoulder. He turned toward one of his men. "Smoke the street. Now!" Within seconds, thick white smoke filled the air outside the shattered windows. The shooter lost his line of sight. The gunfire stopped. The street went quiet again. Only the faint hum of sirens remained. Victor looked down at Alina. Her tiny hands were pressed over her ears, her face pale. Her mother sobbed softly, whispering prayers under her breath. Victor's voice broke the silence. "They tried to kill me again, but this time, they aimed where it hurts more." He looked toward the bullet hole, right where Alina had been standing moments before. And something inside him changed. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was gratitude. Or maybe, deep down, he saw something in that frightened little girl that reminded him of what he'd lost long ago: innocence. He stood, speaking to his men. "We're leaving. Take them with us. They're not safe here." Alina's mother protested. "No, please. We don't want trouble." "You already have it," Victor said firmly. "You saved me. Now I'll return the favor." He looked down at Alina once more, his voice softer now. "From now on, you stay close to me. Do you understand?" Alina hesitated, then nodded. Outside, the smoke cleared slowly. The sunlight broke through again, bright, golden, blinding. But in that brightness, death still lingered. And Victor knew this was only the beginning. He turned to his men. "Find out who ordered this hit. I want names before sunset." Then to Alina, quietly, almost like a promise. "You were brave once, little one. Be brave again." The car engines roared to life. The guards moved quickly, escorting Victor, Alina, and her mother into a waiting black car. The doors slammed. The convoy sped away from the shattered restaurant, leaving behind broken glass, spilled wine, and the memory of a meal that almost ended a king. As they disappeared down the sunlit street, One thought echoed in Victor's mind. If they knew the girl spoke Russian, they won't stop until she's gone. And somewhere, far away, on a rooftop, a phone buzzed. A man's voice answered in Russian. He's alive, but not for long. The girl had saved the king once, but she had also marked herself as the next target. The sunlight had never looked so cruel. It poured through the restaurant windows, bright, golden, beautiful, and yet, beneath it, everything was about to break. The moment the little girl's trembling voice warned him, "Don't eat that, sir." The room froze. Forks stopped midair. Glasses halted. Conversations died. The air itself turned heavy. Anton's fingers still rested on the silver fork. A single bite of steaming pasta suspended inches from his lips. His sharp eyes turned, not toward his men, but toward her, the tiny girl standing beside his table, pale as paper, her small chest rising and falling too fast, hands clutching her dress, eyes wide with fear. Anton quietly, dangerous calm. "Repeat that, little one." Her voice cracked. I said, "Please don't eat that." The girl's tone wasn't disrespectful. It wasn't loud, but it carried a strange weight, like she'd just said something that could change everything. And somehow, everyone felt it. "Marco, boss, she's just a kid." Anton raising a hand. "Silence!" The restaurant manager rushed forward, panic in his steps. "Manager, Signor Di Luca, please. She's just a... She doesn't know what she's saying." Anton didn't even glance at him. His voice dropped lower, colder. "Who is she?" No one answered. Only the sound of the ticking wall clock filled the silence. The girl swallowed hard, looking around. Her gaze darted toward the kitchen doors, toward a shadow moving inside. Two men in chef uniforms, whispering in Russian. Her heart nearly stopped. Girl whispering, "They're not chefs, they're spies." Anton's jaw clenched. For the first time, something flickered in his eyes, surprise, then calculation. Anton low, intense. "You understand Russian?" The girl nodded quickly. "My mom taught me before she..." Her voice broke off. She looked down, tears glimmering. Anton leaned back, eyes narrowing, observing her trembling hands. Every instinct in him, years of surviving betrayal and blood, screamed, "Listen." Anton Di Luca wasn't a man who believed in coincidences. A child appearing in his restaurant, warning him about poison, and whispering Russian? That wasn't chance. That was a message. Anton softly to Marco, "Check the kitchen. Now." Marco and two guards moved instantly, disappearing behind the swinging doors. The girl flinched at the sound, stepping back, whispering, "They'll run away. They heard me." Anton's gaze hardened. He turned to her again. "Anton, what did you hear them say?" Girl quiet, fearful. "They said, the boss dies before dessert." The words hit like a bullet. Anton slowly placed his fork down. His eyes flicked toward his untouched plate, and the faintest tremor crossed his expression. And then, chaos. Marco's voice echoed from behind the doors. "Boss!" "They're running." Gunfire erupted, sharp, fast, echoing through the marble halls. Customers screamed. Chairs toppled. The girl covered her ears and crouched. Anton rose to his feet, tall, terrifyingly calm amid the panic. Anton to his men, "Lock the exits. Nobody leaves." In seconds, the elegant restaurant became a battlefield of fear. Anton's men formed a line, their weapons drawn. The sweet smell of pasta mixed with gunpowder. Sunlight streamed across shattered glass, and in that cruel, golden glow, blood spilled. Marco, gritting his teeth, "Got one alive." Anton's eyes darkened. "Bring him here." The man, young, sweating, his white uniform stained red, fell to his knees before the mafia boss. Anton leaned forward slowly, his voice quiet, too quiet. "Who sent you?" The man's lips quivered. He spat blood, then whispered something in Russian. The girl gasped, translating instantly. He said, "The wolf sends his regards." Anton froze. The name, the wolf, struck him like thunder. The wolf! a name whispered in the darkest corners of Europe, a ghost, a legend, and Anton's oldest enemy. If the wolf was back, then the girl hadn't just saved his life. She dragged him into a war he thought was over. Anton to the girl. What's your name? Girl softly. Alina. Anton. Alina. He paused. Why did you warn me? Alina looked up, her voice trembling but honest. Because you looked like my father, before they took him. The silence that followed was heavy, a mix of grief, memory, and something Anton hadn't felt in years. Trust. Marco. Boss, we gotta move. The cops will be here any minute. Anton nodded slowly. His gaze lingered on the little girl, tiny, brave, and shaking in the middle of his chaos. He made a choice. Bring her with us. Alina frightened. But my mom will. Anton interrupted gently. She'll find you safe. I promise. And though his voice was firm, somewhere deep inside, even he didn't know if that promise could be kept. As the men pulled out of the restaurant, sirens closing in, sunlight flashing on the black cars, Anton looked once more at the half-eaten plate of pasta. Steam still rose from it, like a ghost of what could have been. He turned to Alina, sitting silently beside him in the car. Anton softly, you changed everything, little one. The girl didn't answer, she just stared out the window, where sunlight glimmered on the blood-stained sidewalk. But neither of them knew. The moment she spoke those words, a hidden war had already begun, and the wolf was watching, from somewhere far away. Smiling. Unknown voice over phone. Cold, Russian accent. He's alive. The girl warned him. Another voice calm, cruel. Good. Let her. Because now, we know who she is. The sunlight was bright that day, but not all light means safety. Some only reveal the blood beneath. The sun had begun to fade, painting the city in strokes of gold and shadow. In the back seat of a black Mercedes, silence stretched thick, heavy, uncertain. Anton de Luca, the most feared man in southern Europe, sat beside a trembling little girl. The only reason he was still alive. Alina's small hands were clasped tightly in her lap, her knuckles white, her dress still stained with a smear of red sauce and blood that wasn't hers. Her eyes darted toward Anton now and then, studying the man everyone else feared. But what she saw wasn't just power. It was tiredness. It was the weight of too many ghosts. Anton quietly, eyes forward. You said your father was taken. By who? Alina looked down. Men who spoke Russian, like the ones in the kitchen. Anton's jaw tightened. The wolf again. Even after all these years, his enemy's shadow reached everywhere. From high-end restaurants to quiet little homes where families vanished without reason. Anton didn't believe in fate. But that night, sitting beside the tiny girl who'd saved his life, he began to wonder. Was fate trying to punish him or give him a second chance? The car slowed. They'd arrived at his mansion, a fortress hidden behind tall iron gates, bathed in the orange glow of the dying sun. The guard saluted as Anton stepped out, his coat swaying with authority. He turned to Alina, who hesitated at the door. Anton calmly, you're safe here. No one will touch you. But her small voice cut through his confidence. Alina, you're wrong. Anton frowned. What do you mean? She looked past him, toward the gates, eyes wide with instinctive fear. They already know where we are. One of the guards looked up from his device. Guard alarmed. Boss, we've got movement on the North Road. 2 black vans. Anton's calm mask slipped, just slightly. Get everyone on alert. Now. Marco, his right-hand man, stepped close. Boss, this is no coincidence. The wolf's men are tracking her, or us. Anton's eyes shifted to Alina, but she wasn't crying. She was just staring, pale, silent, like she'd seen this before. She had, in another place, on another day, when her father was taken. The same vans, the same silence before the screams. Anton took a slow breath. Get her inside. Basement level. But as Marco moved to guide her, the girl pulled away. Wait! I heard them talking when they took my father. They said, "They're not coming to kill you." Anton paused mid-step, his gaze cutting back sharply. "Then what are they coming for?" Her eyes filled with tears. "For me." That sentence hit harder than any bullet. Anton didn't know why, but something in her words twisted his chest. Anton's voice dark, protective. "They'll have to get through me first." He turned toward his men. "Lock down the house. No one gets in or out without my word." Guards scrambled. Lights dim. Security doors sealed with a metallic hiss. And for the first time in years, Anton DeLuca, the untouchable, felt the unease of being hunted. Inside the mansion, Alina sat quietly in Anton's study, a grand room filled with golden light, marble floors, and old portraits staring down from the walls. She traced her finger along the edge of his desk, whispering softly, "This is what my dad used to fix." Anton glanced over. "Your father was a carpenter?" She nodded. "He said wood remembers. Every mark, every touch. Even when people forget." Anton stared at her, the innocence in her tone cutting through the steel walls he'd built around his heart. He almost smiled. Until the lights flickered. Marco's voice shouted from the hall, "Boss, power's down. Backup systems offline." Anton moved instantly, pushing Alina behind the desk. His voice went low, commanding, "Stay quiet. Don't move." Through the window, he could see them, silhouettes moving through the trees. Armed, deliberate, ghost-like. They were fast. Too fast. And it wasn't just soldiers. It was professionals, assassins trained to leave no witnesses. Gunfire shattered the glass. Anton pulled Alina down, shielding her with his body as bullets tore through bookshelves and wood. The sound was deafening, but through it, Anton could hear his own heartbeat. And hers, small, rapid, fragile. He grabbed his weapon, firing back through the window, hitting two of the intruders. Shouts echoed outside. Marco over radio, "Boss, they've breached the east wall." Anton snarled, "Hold them off." But as he looked down, he saw Alina trembling, clutching a small wooden pendant around her neck, a carving of a wolf's head. Anton soft, shaken. "Where did you get that?" Her voice was almost a whisper. "My father made it. He said if I ever saw the same mark anywhere else, I should run." Anton's eyes widened. He'd seen it before. That same carving, etched onto bullets, letters, even corpses. It was the wolf's mark. And suddenly, everything made sense. Why she understood the whispers. Why they were after her. She wasn't just a witness. She was connected to him, to the wolf himself. Anton's chest tightened with realization. He whispered to himself, "She's his blood." Alina confused. "What?" Anton forced calm into his tone. "Nothing. Stay close to me." But in his mind, chaos was spreading. If the wolf had a daughter, and she was here, then this wasn't just a rescue mission. It was bait. Smoke filled the hall. Anton grabbed Alina's hand and rushed her through a hidden passage behind the bookshelves. The corridor was narrow, dark, and cold. His footsteps echoed against the stone walls as he whispered, "Almost there. Just a little further." Alina's small voice trembled. "Are we going to die?" Anton didn't answer immediately. He knelt down, looking her in the eyes. "No! Not while I'm still breathing." And for the first time in years, Anton DeLuca wasn't protecting his empire. He was protecting someone he cared about. They reached the end of the tunnel, a metal door leading to the underground garage. Marco was already there, bleeding from his shoulder. "Boss, we can't hold them much longer. We've got maybe 2 minutes." Anton nodded. He opened the car door for Alina, but before she could get in, a sniper shot rang out. The bullet grazed her arm. She screamed in pain, clutching it. Anton's heart stopped for a moment, rage flaring through his veins. He fired back without hesitation, hitting the shooter. Blood spattered across the white walls. That was the first time Anton realized something terrifying. He wasn't thinking like a boss anymore. He was thinking like a father. He tore off his jacket, wrapping it around Alina's wound, whispering, "You'll be fine. Just breathe." Her small fingers clung to his sleeve. "Why are they doing this?" He hesitated. then told her the truth, because you're the only thing that can hurt him now. Alina blinked, tears welling. Anton's voice dropped to a whisper, filled with hate and pain. The man who killed your father. In that moment, the line between blood and vengeance blurred. A mafia king and a frightened little girl, both hunted by the same monster. The engines roared to life. They sped into the night, the mansion burning behind them, flames reflected in Alina's tear-streaked eyes. She whispered softly, "Everything burns just like before." Anton looked at her through the rearview mirror, and quietly, with a promise etched in every word, he said, "Then we'll burn his world next." But what Anton didn't know was that the wolf was already one step ahead, and he wasn't hunting Anton anymore. He was hunting her. The night was long, and the road seemed endless. After the chaos, the fire, the blood, only silence followed. Anton drove through the darkness, headlights slicing through the fog, while Alina sat quietly beside him, small, pale, and clutching her wounded arm. Neither spoke for miles, but in that silence, both of them knew nothing would ever be the same again. Alina softly, "Are they still coming for us?" Anton didn't look at her. His hand stayed firm on the steering wheel. "Yes." Her next question came after a pause, fragile but brave. "Will they ever stop?" Anton's voice was low. "Not until one of us is gone." It wasn't a threat. It was a truth, carved from years of war between monsters in suits and ghosts in shadows. But what Anton didn't expect was that this tiny girl beside him, this child with trembling hands, was about to change everything he thought he knew. The car rolled to a stop beside an abandoned farmhouse at the edge of a quiet valley. This was one of Anton's oldest safe houses. No phones, no guards, just cold air and quiet walls. He guided Alina inside gently, his tone softer than he used with any of his men. "Anton, you'll rest here tonight. We move again at dawn." Alina nodded, sitting by the old fireplace, her eyes following the flicker of the flame. A beat of silence, the crackle of fire. Alina hesitant. "You said the man who killed my father, he's called the wolf?" Anton turned slowly toward her, his expression unreadable. "Yes." Her small voice dropped to a whisper. "Then I think I've heard his voice." Anton froze. The air in the room changed, the kind of silence that pulls your heartbeat into your throat. Anton carefully. "When?" "Alina, the night before my father disappeared. He told me to hide under the table when strange men came. And I did." One of them said. She shut her eyes, repeating softly, "Leave the girl. The boss might need her someday." Anton's breath caught. Every word hit him like a knife twisting deeper. The boss might need her someday. That wasn't a random attack. It was planned. The wolf didn't want her dead. He wanted her alive. And Anton began to understand the horror of it all. The girl wasn't just a witness. She wasn't just bait. She was the center of the game, the one piece both sides couldn't afford to lose. Anton quiet, conflicted. "Alina, what did your father do for a living?" She looked at him, confusion softening her voice. "He worked for kind men. He said they helped poor people. But one night, he said something had gone wrong. He said he kept a secret that could stop a war." Anton's mind raced. He'd heard those words before, a secret that could stop a war. It was something only one man used to say. "The wolf!" And in that moment, the truth began to form, ugly and unbearable. Her father hadn't been just another victim. He'd been the wolf's brother. Anton's chest went cold. He turned away, hiding the storm in his eyes. If the girl ever learned that truth, that her father and his enemy shared blood, she would break. But before he could think further, a noise outside shattered the silence. Anton's instincts flared. He moved instantly, pressing a finger to his lips, signaling her to stay quiet. Alina whispering, "Is it them?" He didn't answer. He just drew his gun and moved toward the window, his steps soundless. Through the thin curtain, he saw them, three shadows, moving slow, deliberate, flashlights off, weapons ready. They'd found them. Again. But this time, Anton wasn't running. He turned to Alina, voice low but fierce. Go down to the cellar. There's a trapdoor behind the crates. Don't come out until I call you. She shook her head, voice trembling. I won't leave you. Anton knelt beside her, eyes meeting hers. You already saved my life once. Now let me save yours. Tears welled in her eyes, but she nodded and disappeared behind the old crates. Anton turned back toward the door, his face now a mask of focus and fury. The first intruder entered quietly, a tall man with a silenced pistol scanning the room. Anton fired first. One shot. The man dropped instantly. Two more shadows burst through the doorway. Gunfire exploded, echoing off the wooden walls. Bullets splintered furniture, tore through glass, and with every flash, the firelight danced across Anton's determined face. A man fighting not for empire, not for pride, but for a child hiding in the dark. He moved like a storm, precise, relentless, unstoppable. One by one, the attackers fell. But even victory came with a cost. A bullet ripped through Anton's side. He stumbled, breath catching, blood soaking through his shirt. He pressed a hand to the wound, gasping, but when he looked up, a faint voice froze him in place. Alina screaming, behind you. Anton spun, just in time. A fourth man had appeared from the back room, gun aimed directly at him. The shot fired, but Anton fired faster. The man collapsed, lifeless. Smoke filled the air. Anton staggered, clutching his wound, his vision blurring. But all he could see was Alina rushing out from hiding, tears streaming down her cheeks. Alina crying. You're hurt. Please, don't die. He knelt weakly, gripping her shoulders. Listen to me, Alina. You're stronger than you think. Your father died to protect something important, something hidden. The wolf wants it. And now, you have to find it first. Her voice trembled. But I don't know what it is. Anton's eyes darkened. You will. You just have to remember. Outside, the night had gone still again. The attack was over, for now. But inside the farmhouse, a different kind of battle was beginning. Anton knew he didn't have much time. He handed Alina a small metal locket, one he'd taken from her father's crime scene years ago. Anton weakly. Your father wore this the night he vanished. Inside, there's a word, engraved in Russian. Alina opened it slowly. Her lips moved as she read it aloud, a whisper, soft as breath. Truth. The air seemed to shift around them. Anton's eyes widened. That was it. The missing key. The word the wolf had been hunting for years, hidden in plain sight. And before Anton could say another word, a faint sound buzzed from the locket. A hidden transmitter. They'd been found again. Anton urgent. Go. Run to the back door. Now! But Alina froze, not from fear, but realization. She turned to him, eyes wide with tears. It's not just a locket. It's his voice. She pressed the locket closer, and through the static came a faint whisper, deep and cold, speaking in Russian. Anton's heart stopped. He didn't need translation. He knew that voice. The wolf through static, calm, chilling. Anton, thank you for finding my daughter. The world seemed to stop. Anton's breath caught. Alina's hand trembled, the locket falling to the floor with a soft clink. Daughter. The wolf's daughter. Every truth shattered in an instant. The enemy's blood. Standing before him. The child he'd sworn to protect. Belonged to the man who destroyed his life. Alina crying. No, no, that can't be true. Anton took her hands, his voice raw, breaking. It doesn't matter who you came from. What matters is who you choose to be. She sobbed harder, shaking her head. But he's coming, isn't he? Anton nodded slowly. Yes. And when he does, I'll be ready. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance. The first drops of rain began to fall, washing away the blood on the porch. But not the truth that had been revealed. In that tiny farmhouse, under flickering candlelight, a wounded man and a frightened child sat side by side, no longer strangers, no longer enemies, but two souls bound by fate, waiting for the storm to come. And somewhere in the darkness, A whisper echoed through a radio once more, this time softer, almost tender. The wolf threw static. "See you soon, my little girl." And just like that, everything changed. The hunter and the hunted were about to meet. And when they did, the world of blood and truth would never be the same again. If this story gripped you, if your heart raced, if you want to know what happens when the wolf finally comes face to face with the man who raised his daughter, then don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. The next chapter will reveal the reckoning that began with one whisper and ended in fire.